So, hello everyone. Welcome to our August Unsung Hero interview. Today's guest is Kevin Simme. I have known him and his beautiful wife, Carol, for over 30 years now, when our kids were little babies. Um, but actually, Kevin was nominated by someone who I think works for him. And so when we got that nomination that came in, she basically said Kevin fit all of the attributes that we were looking for in an unsung hero. And so before I go into the details of the nomination, Kevin, I wanted to thank you for being here. And if you could just please introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. Hi, my name is Kevin Simme, and I have a company called College Funding Alternatives. I also have a nonprofit called Wise Up. And I'm married, have three children, and one grandchild.
That's right. Congratulations. Congratulations. So, Kevin, you should know that the person who nominated you, and I'm sort of paraphrasing her words, she said Kevin is definitely an unsung hero because he's a very positive person. He works hard at his job, sometimes working 6 days a week, and he goes beyond what he's paid to do. She basically also talked about your businessmen's meeting. It's a Christian businessmen's meeting where every month you meet other men to develop one another and to uplift one another, both personally and professionally. She said that you are humble, not assuming that you know everything, and yet willing to listen and put in place or put into practice what others suggest. She goes on to mentioning how you helped an elderly woman at your church who had no family, so she treated you like her son, and you helped manage her estate when she passed away. You continue to help an elderly couple. Apparently, one night the woman fell, and they called you as the first person to help out. So, Kevin, it's an honor to actually be sitting here in front of you virtually over Zoom to interview you today. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Tell us about you in terms of your childhood. Where were you born? Tell us about your family and how many siblings, etc.
Okay. I was born and raised outside of Buffalo, New York, in a small town. I have three brothers and three sisters. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a construction worker with large equipment. And we had a great childhood. My backyard was 20 acres. We had a pond, we had a lake. Everybody I knew seemed to be a farmer.
Hmm.
And I was first generation college student. So
Among the the three brothers and three sisters, where do you fit in?
right in the center.
Right,
Yeah.
the middle child.
Yes. We had a fun kind of sequence though, because it goes girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, boy. And so my dad always said he lost a paycheck on the last son.
Aw. In this amazing childhood that it seems, who was the most influential person in your life?
Um, Early on, it was probably my neighbor, which is really interesting because he was very similar in age to me, maybe 4 years ahead of me, 3 years ahead of me, and he taught me how to read, to write. He was, it was like he was a teacher right next door as a little kid. I remember sitting on the front lawn underneath the very tall maple tree and doing worksheets and um, uh, math questions. It is just such a fun thing. I remember that, and that was very influential because I love to read. And even though I was my mom would read with me, but that love of reading had to come from my neighbor.
All right, so you've told us a little bit about your childhood. Tell us why you moved to New Jersey.
So let's see here. That was interesting. I worked a summer job in Buffalo in the county. I was reading water meters. It was a summer job, and I was a member of one political party that had the jobs for the kids during the summer. And my junior year of college, the other party won election, and I lost my summer
You lost
job
your job.
to somebody else who was the other party. And so at that point, I had a good friend who was living down here in um, East Brunswick, New Jersey, and he was attending grad school, I think, at Princeton Seminary. And so he said, "Why don't you move down here?" And so I lived with him rent free and took care of the church property. He was the associate pastor at the time at the church. So I moved down for the summer and got a job with a local marketing company. And when I graduated college the next year, I came down for a summer job because I didn't know what to do after college. And I walked into the warehouse. Um, a gentleman came out in a suit and tie and said, "Hey, I heard you just graduated and we have an opening." And so I
That was
said,
your
"Well,
interview.
well, that was my interview. I was in jeans and a t-shirt, and he said one thing I'll always remember. He said, "Don't worry, anybody can dress up." And so I had this interview and got the job offer, and for the next 7 years worked for the company. It was a college marketing company, and it was this connection to what I do now.
All right, so why don't you tell us about what you do now?
I had an idea to do workshops to help people. And what happened is I found out very quickly that people will do anything for their children.
Yes.
And they started coming to me. So I didn't have to call them. I would do a workshop at a library and I would have a full room, 30, 40 parents. Um, and it took me a while to understand that by being up in front of the room, I was the expert, even though I didn't know what I was doing back in 1997, you know. But that's when I started, 1997, and so through the years, I did become the expert, and I have a program with college admissions through financial aid.
So parents come to you and then you help kids find the right college?
Yeah, so basically, I would have 5 steps that I would go through. The first part is kind of an interview with a student, where I get to know them as quickly as possible, and at there's not a better phrase than being a super guidance counselor. Everybody knows what a guidance counselor is, but the problem is in the high schools, public or private, there's too many students per counselor, so they really can't help as much. In my case, I can help as many students as I need to. And so what we do is we do career profiling and college selection. And that's really critical to financial aid. People don't understand the connection is if you pick the right school, you're going to get money.
Mm.
So I just had a phone call a little while ago where a mom was talking about, she said, if my child just goes to an in-state state school here, we'll be able to pay. And I said, what if they can go somewhere else for less than going in New Jersey? Because
Mm.
it happens all the time. And generally that just kind of makes people think like, how could that be? They
How could
don't
that
know.
be? Right. Yeah, because you're only
So
thinking in-state is the cheapest way to go. From the nomination, what I gleaned from that was that your nonprofit has something to do with a little bit of this. So can you explain to me what your nonprofit does?
yeah, if you don't mind, I'll go back a little bit and explain how I really got started.
Perfect.
So back in back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I got started, I found that there were people who would come into my office for a follow-up visit after a workshop when I would do my sales presentation.
Mhm.
And and when I'd get to the pricing, they would drop their head. And maybe it was a mom, and I found out that she was a single mom and that she didn't have any money. And and so I started at that point to begin to give my services away for free to about 10 families per year. And that was the beginning of the idea. And then years later, in 2015, I was actually at a youth event at a local college, and there was a young mom there, and she was talking about when she was in college that um, she didn't get a lot of help, and her parents were her father was nowhere to be found, and her mom was not a college grad, and things happened, and she ended up having to drop out of school because she couldn't afford to pay.
Hmm.
And it just it caught me because she now had a 6 year old, and she was concerned about what was going to happen to her son. And so that started this idea that I really need to help people who need the assistance. And when I started thinking about it, that first generation college student, I go back to my childhood and I didn't realize I was poor.
Oh,
Um, I had no idea because it never came up. I didn't want for anything, but when we look at it, I was poor and I was a first generation college student. So when I went to school, um, I had a lot of help from a lot of people, including my family and my dad specifically, say, just very, very encouraging, and you can do anything you want to in your life, and and just very positive. So that was helpful to me. And when I started thinking about helping students, it was the ones who are in the middle. They're not the best student, they're not the worst, but they're poor. And it doesn't matter their ethnicity. It doesn't matter where they're located. I was out in a rural area. I'm helping students who are in the city. And they might be a different color than me, different heritage than me, different ethnicity than me. And yet we shared one thing, and that was being poor.
you've started something that is really, in my opinion, upstream efforts, right? To
Oh,
catch them right on
right,
early and help them be able to afford something that ordinarily they could have easily said we can't. So
right. So yeah, so wise up. Our goal is basically to see these at-risk students. They have proven desire and ability generally when we talk to them. You might not see it in their everyday life, but when we talk to them, they have a proven desire and ability, but they just don't have people around them who know what the steps are, how to encourage them. And so we want them to achieve success in higher education, in their careers, in their life choices, because only 1 out of 10 students who are at risk finish with a college degree. And we're in our I'm trying to think now. So we're in our third graduation sequence, and we now have 5 students who've graduated through college. 2 of them are going to grad school, and 3 of them are working. And every year now we're going to have more and more because um, I think we're working with 40 students now, and we have a full-time student recruiter who brought on eight more students so far in the last 2 months. So um, there's a lot of students who need help, and we're trying to reach out to them. I have an issue with financial aid, and I'll say, well, let's go together. And so we get in the car, and I go with them. I'm their advocate, and
to
I
different parts of the country
different parts of the state usually for these particular
for these people.
students.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
So I go to a local college, and as I'm waiting in line for our appointment, because I usually don't go in without an appointment, um, the receptionist says, I'm hearing her say to a student in front of us, well, this takes too long to change, so you're going to have to start in the spring. And this is like August. So they're pushing the kids off. They're not doing their work. They're pushing the kids off and so students are behind, always behind. And so I walk up and they say, well, we don't take appointments. I said, well, somebody did on the phone, and now I have to raise my voice a little, be assertive, and then somebody finally sees there's an issue and they'll come to the desk, and now I have an appointment. I had an appointment earlier, but they don't
Honor
necessarily
that or recognize
honor
it.
it,
Yeah.
right? So um, I'll then reach out to the president of the university and say, did you know that this is happening in your financial aid office where they're turning kids away? And now there's a change. They don't turn kids away now. Now they have a whole new system at that particular college, whole new system. Everybody I talk to understands how important it is to help people who need assistance. And when you talk about college and that we do what we do with no charge to a family, and they can go to college for zero out of pocket cost. And we're going to do all the admissions assistance, the financial aid assistance, and we're going to assign them a mentor, a college educated adult mentor who lives within 30 minutes of the college they go to. And the whole design is to get them to their college degree because that's going to break the cycle of poverty
Mm.
in that person's life. Maybe not the cycle of poverty for everybody, but in that person's life, it's going to break the cycle.
And their extended circle, right? What's the first meal of your day?
Dinner at times.
Okay. Because I had somebody else, when I asked this question, they're like, breakfast. But I know you. Dinner.
So
Yeah, because you,
isn't there a little explanation I should say from
yes,
that?
please.
Okay.
Please.
So get up in the morning. I have like protein shake, a different shake, and I take supplements. And then next thing you know, I get to the office probably about 7:30 in the morning. And next thing I know, it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And I might go out and get something to eat sometimes, but most of the
Sometimes you'll
time
work through.
it's too late. And next thing I call Carol and or I'll text her and I'll say I'll be home at 6:30 and she'll have dinner for me. So
That is unfortunately not a good thing, but
not a good thing.
but let me ask you, what's your favorite meal of the day?
I would say lunch is my
Lunch.
favorite meal
Why?
because I get a break from all the stuff that's going on, and I don't take work with me during lunch. I so when I do go out or I grab another shake, whatever it is, I get away from the office for about an hour and
Okay.
just kind of relax. So
Just
that's my
unwind.
favorite. My favorite.
Nice. Very nice. What's your favorite dish?
Spaghetti.
Okay. Okay. Made by Carol or
Yes. No, Carol. I've tried that. I've tried, different restaurants. Nothing works,
nothing
but
compares to Carol's
oh, that's right.
um what is the one thing that is unexpected about you that people would be surprised to know about?
That's the most difficult question I've ever heard. Hmm.
I think I already know the answer from something that you said earlier because I was surprised to hear it, but I'd like to know what you have to say.
Unexpected that somebody that people don't know about.
Yeah.
Okay. So, um,
All right, we've come back to that question, but I
please,
will tell
because
you
that's
what
a tough
I
one.
thought.
Yeah.
You mentioned when you were standing in line with the young lady or that student, and you actually raised your voice
That's a surprise. Oh,
that
you
was
know,
a surprise to me. I was like, Kevin probably never loses his temper,
yeah. So that's really funny. So my name is Simme, Simme. You
right?
put an R on the end, and it's simmer. And so usually what happens in my life is I simmer, but don't let
Don't
me
mess
boil
with,
over. And
yeah.
so I'll tell people when I'm helping them. So this is a good way to get. I wasn't thinking of it in those terms. So thank you for that, Rekha. uh, but surprisingly, I've taken issues all the way up to the U.S. Department of Education. So when there's an issue, I escalate it
Hmm.
to the next level, next level, next level until I get to somebody who can actually make a decision.
I
And I
love
don't stop until we get a good decision.
I love it.
So I've gone to uh, the corporate board of MIT. They weren't responding, so I sent them personal letters. Um,
Did they
personal
respond?
account. within 72 hours, I had a meeting because I reached out to people on the board who were just regular business people, but I did personal and confidential right to their offices, and I told them this is what's going on, and you should be ashamed of yourself for being on the board and at this prestigious university, and all I'm asking for is an appointment.
If you could be one age forever, what age would that be?
Oh, that's really tough. So if I say 35,
Okay.
that was great. I love 35. But my wife's always saying you can't look back. So I'd have to say, because she's going to listen to this, I'm going to say the current age I am right now, 61.
That's an answer for Carol.
You got it.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Both.
Hmm. I get that answer a lot
Do
from
you?
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
What time do you sleep at night?
Sometimes I'll get to bed about 11:30,
And then you're up in the morning at,
5:30.
all right, this one's, I think, an important one. I don't know if it's difficult, but it's an important one. If you had to go back into your childhood, what is the one advice that you would give to your younger self?
Be confident. I would say be confident. And the reason I would say that is because plenty of times in my years of running a business, um, interacting with people, there are certain people who intimidate me, and there's no reason to be intimidated. So it comes from a lack of confidence.
That's so true about everyone. I think some people hide that
Yeah.
feeling, and
Mhm.
the fact that you're open about it means that you're already a better man than many. But you're right, confidence is a huge, especially for kids, right? To have that
Yes.
sense of it's okay. If you make mistakes, it's okay. If you fail, it's
Yeah.
okay, because that'll just make you a better person.
Mhm.
If Carol had to describe you in one word, what would it be?
Oh, hardworking.
Oh,
She would say hardworking. Um, Great husband, great father,
I hope
great
you're not saying
grandfather.
what you want her to say.
She better say that.
If your kids had to describe you in one word, what would it be?
Always there for them.
Nice. Very nice. That I believe, and I know. And I know that because I know you personally.
Mhm.
That's great. So those were it. So it wasn't so bad, correct?
Not too bad,
All
no.
right, we're gonna end with the three legacy questions that I ask everyone. What is it that you're most proud of all your accomplishments that you've done in your life? What are you most proud of?
Yeah, I think of things and I thought about family, but um, that's a given for me. So instead, I'm going to say that I started a business because I needed to do something, and it wasn't working for another person because I didn't do well in a corporate setting. I kind of needed to be in control of my own thing, and to be able to be here 27 years later is unbelievable to me. I think back on it and I say, how did I make it? How did it? How you know what? It's just perseverance and being
Job
thoughtful.
42.
Joe 42. Yeah, you're right. But being thoughtful, taking breaks, never taking work home.
Mm.
I never take work home.
So once you get
Um,
home, that's it. You're done. It's family
that's
time.
it. That's it. So whether it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon because we have plans or a day off, I don't take work home.
So 6 days a week, though, is what the nomination came through saying that you work 6 days a week.
Yeah,
You get to the office.
I'm easily over 60, 70 hours. But I think that um, students today, and I explained to this to them, the the reality is everybody has the same amount of time. They have 168 hours a week. And so if I work 40 hours, I've still got 128, right? So I could literally work 80 hours and still do all the things I want to do, eat, sleep, be with family, do all those things. But there's a misconception that we can only work 40 hours. And if you work more than that, you're a workaholic. But the reality is, if I love what I'm doing, then it's not work. And
And
people
you
better than me
actually,
have
the
said that.
extent you took what you're doing and you made a carve out of that into a nonprofit. How cool is that, you know?
That's pretty neat.
What is the legacy you want to leave in your life?
Um, you know, I've been thinking about this because I'm not sure that there could be somebody out there who has a desire to do this, but what what I do is different from all my competitors. And it's labor intensive. It's one of those things that if you don't have a passion, it's not going to be the business for you, at least the model that I have. And so my legacy is I want people who have worked with me um, to remember who I was,
Mm.
but not who I was personally, what I did and how I did it, so that they can do similar things to people who are needed. They'll pass it along and be generous. That I want people to know that with time and energy and money that I'm a generous person.
Right. That's so great. And you mentioned time, which is the one resource we can never buy, we can never get back. So the fact that you're generous with your time is phenomenal. And if there's one thing you want all of us as human beings that you wish we could do better, what would it
Yeah.
be?
Uh, I I wish that that people would think critically more, that they would actually take time and think. We are so caught up in the moment. The kids from Snapchat and TikTok and all that stuff to us as adults going from one stressful situation to another at our work, from one project to another, and not really taking the time to think. So when we hear things, and right now we got this political season going on, and there's such disruption in our lives for basically not being thoughtful about other people and you know um, what they believe may be different than I believe, but it doesn't make a person wrong or bad. But to think things through, I wish people would take the time to do that. When I share that with my students, that it's okay to have an open mind. It's okay.
It's okay to disagree with someone
Exactly.
and still be okay to, sit by his or her side.
Right. It's okay to be challenged by other people. Yeah.
Yeah, great, great. Kevin, it was awesome. We've had plenty of chats as youngsters, 30 odd ish years ago. We've had several after we reconnected, and it was just such a nice feeling interviewing you today to just hear how much you've accomplished in your life and where you are today. So I wish you all the very, very best and all the success that Wise Up and college funding alternatives kind of go beautifully up together in a nice in harmony.
Thank you so much, Rekha.